After nearly 20 years without a comprehensive update, FEMA last week quietly released draft flood maps for Harris County, which show a dramatically expanded 100-year floodplain, roughly aligning with what's currently designated as the 500-year zone. The maps could require thousands of Houston area homeowners to purchase flood insurance, and it could potentially reshape development across the region. Jim Blackburn is the co-director of the Severe Storm Prevention, Education, and Evacuation from Disaster, or SPEED Center at Rice University. He's here with us now. Jim, welcome back to Houston Matters.
Thank you, Craig. Good to be here.
Harris County hasn't had a comprehensive flood map update since 2007, and these new maps were originally expected, I think, in 2022. So why the delay?
Well, I think for a couple of reasons. One, they're using a new computer program called HECRAS. And that is a more complicated effort, and so it took time there. Two, we've had a transition with administrations and with FEMA changing, so it's not surprising it's taken a while. I was thinking it was going to be much sooner, but I think there's reasons why it took a long time, and we want to try to get this as right as we can. And in the past in Houston, going all the way back to the 1980s, there's always been controversy over these maps. So the better we get them to begin with, the less controversy going forward, although I'm sure there will be controversy over these maps.
What has happened in all the years since 2007 and the previous iteration, the one that we're operating under today of these maps?
Well, probably the biggest thing is that the rainfall is being basically reevaluated because it's increasing. We used, I think, 13 inches in 24 hours as the 100-year storm for the 2007 maps. We're now using somewhere around 17 inches in 24 hours. And that increase, we saw it with Allison, we saw it with Harvey, we saw it with Imelda, and with Tax Day, Halloween Day flooding that we had all in the last 20 years. So the numbers are going up. And so with bigger rains, you're going to have bigger floodplains.
Do you think our understanding of flood risks over these last 20 years has evolved?
Unfortunately, I don't know that it has. It seems that we do not give enough credibility to the danger of flooding. It's sort of like, oh, well, it floods. That's the way Houston is. So what? But we're going to need more and more room for water in our community. And building in floodplains, and particularly deep in the floodplains, really makes no sense at all to me. Now, I understand if you own the property, you want to try to get money back on it. I'm sympathetic with that, but we really should not be developing deep in the floodplain. But we don't have a good ethic about that. We really don't talk about that enough from a governmental standpoint, from a community standpoint.
I mentioned that the draft indicates essentially that the 100-year floodplain is expanding to roughly match what's currently designated as the 500-year floodplain. And I imagine there are some Houstonians who understand all of that innately, and I bet there are others who have no idea what those terms mean. Can you explain them?
I'll do my best. I mean, these are statistics. So you're talking about with the 100-year floodplain and the 100-year rainfall event, a storm that has a 1% chance of occurring in any year. Now, you could have 2 years in a row where you might see the same storm, but statistically, you're looking at a 0.1% event, and with the 500-year, you're looking at the 0.2% event. So you're looking at an event. One would think that would be very unlikely to occur, and the problem is, we've seen these big storms occur much more than what the statistics seem to indicate.
Yeah, let's give some practical examples here. Where did Harvey fall in this context?
Harvey was, 40 inches in, 5 days. We had probably 23, 24 inches in 24 hours. So Harvey was a very intense storm that is higher than certainly the new 100-year, possibly higher than the new 500. With Allison, we had a similar type of rainfall. Imelda, which really was just up in the northeast part of the county, same thing. So we've seen 3 storms that are at least in the 100 to 500 year range, percentage-wise. It has to do with the way they compile data from different rain gauges. I honestly think our 100-year rainfall should be higher.
Do you think so? Even the adjusted maps, you think that what they're indicating is doesn't go far enough? Is that what you're saying?
I think that it does not go far enough. I think that somewhere in over 20 inches in 24 hours is probably more likely what we should have. That's not what the statistics showed when we redid them in 2018 after Harvey. The statistics are being redone again. And there is a new document being prepared by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that may show still a higher level.
Will that be out before these current flood maps are finalized?
Probably not. And with the administration cutting budgeting for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, may take a long time, several years to see these numbers, but they're coming.
It sounds like by the time we get any map done, it's already going to be out of date.
I think that is correct. On the other hand, it's better information than the current map. I mean, the map we have currently is obsolete, and both Harris County and the city of Houston have recognized that because they've been using the current 500-year for regulatory purposes since after Harvey. So, I mean, the recognition that these maps, the old maps, were obsolete is certainly penetrated in Harris County and in the city of Houston. However, the state and the EPA are still using the current maps, what I consider the obsolete map. They're being used for like hazardous waste siting, for landfill siting, for various regulatory functions.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit is traffic patterns. By the time we get some highway improvement project, something massive that takes years to complete, done, and it's designed to solve problems that are in development and even projected a little bit. By the time it's actually up and running, we have new problems that far exceed whatever it was that they were trying to solve.
It does seem that there's a comparison there because the road system, we've all experienced that and seen the expansions, and then they fill up almost immediately. This is different in the sense that this is physical. I mean, sometimes our roads fill up because we develop right where the roads take us to. So we kind of take that space up. Here, nature is changing, and this has to do with our climate and with the impacts on climate.
But then again, we also develop in floodplains.
We absolutely do. And I think you mentioned that, explain to people the 100-year or the 500-year flood. I think that our government does not do a good enough job of explaining these issues. We have a lot of people moving here from other parts of the country as well as other parts of the world that may never have experienced hurricanes and tropical systems like we get here. There was a marker that was put up down in Clear Lake after Hurricane Ike that showed how high the Category 4 and Category 5 surge would be, and that marker was removed after 2 months because it interfered with home sales. Now, that says a lot about our community, that we're more worried about interference with home sales than we are about getting good information to the consumers that are moving here and probably don't know anything about hurricanes.
So you're suggesting this may be, to some degree, a willful failure to communicate?
I think it is absolutely a willful failure to communicate, certainly from certain businesses. But with our government, I just think it's easier. I think they get a lot of pushback when they are very vocal about these issues, and it's just easier to be quiet. And I think that's a mistake.
On the flip side, I could imagine some homeowners who may suddenly find themselves in a floodplain that they didn't know they were in, that they never used to be in, who have lived there for a lot of years and have said, no, I bought this place because it wasn't in a floodplain. What do you mean it is now? They're going to be a little upset.
That you bet they will be, and it very easily could occur. In fact, I'm sure it is occurring. I think, and frankly, these maps are hard to find right now. They're not easily accessible. I think the release caught Harris County Flood Control District a little bit by surprise. I think this was really supposed to be released for government review, and then with public review coming later, and it kind of just got issued all at once. I would hope Harris County will help all of us better access these maps and be able to compare them to what the maps used to be. But, yeah, I think there's going to be certainly a number of homes that are going to be in the 100-year floodplain that weren't previously. And if they don't have flood insurance, they should have flood insurance for sure.
That's also not an easy thing these days. There are fewer insurers that are willing to sell flood insurance in the Houston area.
Federal flood insurance, though, is generally available for flooding. Now, for other types of things, insurers they're leaving the market very, very fast. Flood insurance right now is federally subsidized. That may change as well. I mean, it's been criticized. It's kind of a hole in the budget because every time a flood occurs, all kinds of insurance payments have to be made, and that's guaranteed by the federal government. That may well change, and if it does, that will have a huge effect on our region. That's not proposed to be changed right now, but it has been in the past.
Okay, how about the other hand? Could bringing more Houstonians into regulated flood zones increase awareness to such a degree that there is a little more push for more flood mitigation efforts than there are now?
Well, I think absolutely the number of people affected will increase. So there's no doubt that I think it could certainly generate more public, if you will, attention, more public action. We've been very good about passing bonds. We passed a $2.5 billion bond issue after Harvey that we're still spending the money on. So on the one hand, I don't know that there's a problem in the public supporting. I think the big problem is we keep developing in the floodplains. We keep making this problem worse and worse. In my opinion, we should be evacuating the areas that are most seriously flooded, and because you'll never be able to spend enough money to protect these areas. There's just too much water. I mean, and when it rains, this is gravity taking water to the lowest elevations, and if there's homes there, they're going to flood. And flood control district can spend all the money they wish, but in some of these areas, you're just going to have too much money for people to be living there. Too much water for people to be living there.
What's next in FEMA's process for getting these maps finalized?
Well, this is basically a draft map. It goes through an appeals process. There are probably any number of developers and landowners who are either hiring or thinking about hiring experts to examine these maps and to perhaps challenge them. This is a computer model that generates that. There are assumptions that are made in computer modeling. There are certainly avenues for creative lawyers and engineers to pose challenges. Not sure they will be successful in all cases or in any cases, but they have the right to do that, and many will certainly take advantage of that right.
My guest is Jim Blackburn. He's co-director of the SSPEED Center at Rice University.